Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Ronnie Loaiza, also known as RonnieLo, a certified habit coach and master life coach who helps build sustainable, science-backed habits that align with your goals and values. Her approach goes beyond quick fixes, focusing on lasting change without burnout and relying on sheer willpower. How are you doing today, Ronnie?
I am doing great. And actually, the process is science-backed. The habits, yeah, I guess we can say that too. They're natural.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, no, I loved our conversation that we had the other day. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and you're doing some cool things. I think you're adding a lot of value to a lot of people. So more people out there need to meet you. But to start off, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
Well, I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. You been there forever, or are you newer to the area?
I'm originally from New York. I've lived in California since the late 90s.
Okay.
So it's
Awesome.
been
So
a
you
while.
had, yeah. So if you have some friends coming into town that have never visited before, where are you going for fun, and what are you doing for dinner?
Oh, dinner. When LA, you can go just about anywhere. Depends what mood you're in. The thing about Los Angeles is I love Los Angeles. It's the parking. Thank goodness we have Lyft and Uber now, so we have no excuse. But whatever you're in the mood for. I mean, you could be at the ocean, you could be in the mountains. So it just depends on the mood. I don't know why lately I'm in the mood for shellfish. But I do like to take people, if they only have a couple of days, to, have you ever been here?
Nope, never.
I love to go up to Runyon Canyon because when you go up there, you have to hike up. You look around 360, you see all of Los Angeles. There you go. I mean, you can, if it's a great day, you can see out to the water. But if not, you binoculars, whatever, and you can see all the way to the east past the San Gabriel Mountains. So you get a 360 view.
Yeah, so it's the way to see all in one day. I like that. That makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. What can you tell us about what you're doing?
Well, as you said, I'm a master certified professional coach. I've been going up in the levels, and that sort of came up after I decided to become a coach. And the thing is, when I was told, literally, I was giving this command. No, I was told I'd be a good life coach. I was really cynical. Yeah, okay, everybody's a life coach all of a sudden. And finally, I looked into it because I was helping people mostly through their fitness. And I had people tell me, I have this friend, I have my boss, whoever, this is right as the pandemic happened, who are just not working out. And I was really surprised because I thought everybody bought a Peloton. So I was like, well, do you want me to talk to her? And I noticed, just as I had seen when I was a personal trainer, that it was really mostly mindset. Because we can all say we're busy. We can all say we have, stressful lives. We can all say this, that, and the other. We all have great reasons. Excuses are not bad. You can give them a bad connotation, but they're reasons. And everybody was going through anxious times. So I was helping people find out really the crux of what was up. Sometimes they were just they didn't want to work out at home. They want to be seen working out, or they were afraid of being indispensable or not being indispensable at work, whether they were the boss or they were a team member. They didn't want to be furloughed and they felt a little self-conscious working out at home, whatever it was. So I would help them find first what was really troubling them and then would help them in how they could do the minimum amount, just as I did as a personal trainer. When anybody asked me, do I do this or do I do that? Yes. What? Which one will you do? Really, that's the crux of forming a habit. That can progress. My clients were successful with habits, one tiny little action that becomes a habit. And as we said before, habits are natural. We were not born with our habits. We were conditioned, we were taught, and we conditioned ourselves. So the good news is our brains are pliable no matter what age. We can create and form new habits. As I went through all that, I decided to become a coach and I went up in levels. I really took it seriously. I wanted it for me to be a bona fide coach. And I went through an ICF accredited program, International Coaching Federation. But I started noticing, Anthony, that the common thread with most of my clients, whether they were in career transition, career growth, I started taking on what people wanted and needed, were coming to me for, men and women. But whatever it was, we would start with, what tiny action can you take? And that would form into, how will that help you get to your goal? Fitness, eating, health habits, productivity, time management, get off that social media, whatever it was, make those dreaded sales calls, whatever it was. So the more I read about it, the more I researched, because that's what I always do, I realized, or I found out there was such a thing as habit coaching. So I went to school, a school in Sweden online, and became a certified habit coach. And it is my jam. It really does help you in any area of your life.
Yeah, I imagine so. Like you said, we can all form habits. It doesn't matter if you're doing it on purpose or not. You can form bad habits, right? Just on accident. So that's awesome. What is it that you love most about what you're doing now?
I'm going to take you back, even if it's by accident. There is no accident. I sound like Yoda. Um, Good habits and bad habits alike. We form them for a reward. That's a instant. You get something out of it, whether it's a bad habit or good habit. You get something out of it. So yeah, I see what you're saying by accidents. Like you wanted something. So you asked me, what do I love about it? Is exactly this. I get really passionate because no matter what you do, we can see, oh, how did that become a habit? And we can change it to what are you going to get out of it? Reward yourself so that you can change a bad habit. Now, I'm not talking about an addiction such as smoking, that if you are really addicted to the nicotine, the chemical part. If it's a biochemical addiction, that's a different domain. But something that you get out of that you can change, we work on that. And I found this fascinating. And when we broke it down, the meta studies show, and I started like quizzing like 6 degrees of separation, like is this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. 40 to 50% of your day, each one of our days, is a series of habits. Half of our day are our habits, our natural, innate, second nature. We don't think about it, subconscious habits, what we used to, not routines. Routines are made up of a series of habits. So, how can we use those habits to support us even when we least feel like it, when we're at our most lazy, or if we're having some chronic pain, or we have something, we have a headache that day or a migraine? What is the least amount that will support you, your habits? Now, how can you use your habits to progress you towards your goal? That's even more exciting. What will be those actions that will progress you to your goals? Your habits drive your day. So what I love about what I do is how we can implement it toward that big goal. Because most people start, let's say there's a mountain, most people start at the summit and they just want to hop up there. Even a goat doesn't do that. Goats take their time and go around that mountain one step at a time. Those are our habits. So I love seeing how your habits can help you get to that ultimate goal. We try to get there too fast.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, and I think we realize, we end up with bad habits and we're like, oh man, I'm overweight. I need to lose weight. And you expect to lose it all right away. But it took you years or months or a long period of time to get to where you are. It's going to take just as much to get back. So making that realization and going, okay, going to get rid of the bad ones, replace them with good ones. And, we'll start making progress back to where we want. So that's excellent advice. When you're looking at like your average client or the person that you're best able to serve, what does that look like? What are the pain points that they're going through that if, somebody's going through X, Y, or Z, you're the person they should be talking to?
I'll say something not vague, but general first, and then we can go to an example. But I notice in people that they go through trying a lot of things. Most people that come to me are finally like, I wanted to get more productive, or I wanted to become a better entrepreneur. I'm becoming an entrepreneur, or solopreneur, as we call them now, self-employed, whatever it is. Or I want to realize making my art my business, whatever it is. They buy these big programs, or they take these challenges, and these 5-day challenges, or like I said, they buy these courses or programs, and they think they can do, oh, I can do all that, I can do all that, and then it goes into their computer modules, little file folders. They don't finish. The common thread is they don't finish. Or let's say, yes, another detox, another diet challenge, another diet, another whatever it is, workout plan, and they go on all full force, and then they quit. They peter out. It's usually people that have tried things and they're not quitters, but they just get ahead of themselves. And why? Well, I see that's because you're not doing it now anyway. You're taking all this new stuff that you're not doing now anyway. So you're forcing yourself to take on all this new stuff, and you don't have time for it. Yes, you can time block and Google calendar it and all that, but do you have the bandwidth, as we call it now? Do you have the mental space for it? And do you have the habit of doing the things to do those things? No, because you have other things. You're not used to doing it. Your brain's not used to doing it. So the people that come to me have this pain point. I've tried this diet. I've tried this detox. I've tried the challenge. I've tried a kickstart. I've tried whatever. And they've burnt out. And that's the big thing about willpower as well. I read a long time ago, and then I went back to find it, that the most successful, and we're saying here in this capitalist society, success we say is money. The most successful people do not rely on willpower or even self-discipline because they have systems in place. We can talk about economic systems, financial systems, business systems. They have systems in place, right, in their business. So, same thing. And the most successful people also work out. It's in their mindset. It's part of their identity. They work out. They have some sort of move. They move. So they're physical about it because every aspect of your life affects the other in some way. So go back to willpower. Habits are systems. Here comes the scientific part. Your habits are a little series of things happening up there in your subconscious that you don't even think about, and they happen so rapid fire that you don't think about it. Habits are systemized, and how you create a habit or form a habit is also a process or a system. Because when you keep revving up the willpower and keep revving up the willpower and keep revving it up and revving it up, it even sounds exhausting listening to me. It becomes exhausting, and that can lead to burnout. So the most successful people don't rely on willpower because they already have their systems in place. And that's the same theory behind the habits.
Yeah, that's excellent advice as well.
It's a
When
lot
you're
to think
looking at
about.
like, it really is, yeah, because you live in, like you said, uh, being healthy in all areas is going to help all areas, right? If you're not working out and your health is starting to degrade, it's going to affect you in every other spot. So you want to make sure you have those systems and habits in place throughout your life, not just on your business, not just in your health, but in both. So yeah, absolutely. When you're looking at like your average power partner or people or industries or other professionals that you synergize really well with, you refer back and forth with, where do you find a lot of collaboration?
Well, it's interesting how I found lately people wanting to collaborate with me who are in finance because I prepare my taxes for a tax preparer. It's like, oh, it's the bane of my existence every January. But no, I'm not bad with numbers. I still need that calculator. But business people want to collaborate with me because they have teams, and teams and clients, their clients need habits, financial habits, productivity habits, time management habits, and also their teams need self-care. And so I am finding a lot more of that type of collaboration. Companies have seen this for the past 2 or 3 decades. I think you've seen that they want their teams to have self-care, whatever that means for them. So a lot of that, the collaboration, how is self-care going to help you at your work to be more creative, to be more alive, to have more focus, to have those better habits in your life that help you? You have to self-care. And again, I help people not fit in more stuff, not pack on more stuff in your busy day, but attach a new habit that you're forming to something you already do. To something you already do. Some people call it habit stacking. I find that kind of weighs you down like a stack of books. I like habit chaining, habit linking, because all this is not new. We hear about atomic habits. He put his own spin on it, but this is, centuries old. So the collaborators, anybody who has a company who wants to help their team in self-care and exercise and fitness, not the challenges, but their own self-care. Also for the business habits, also for team habits. And other people that are just more one-on-one clients, they come to me with one thing in mind and we end up working in all aspects of their life. But like you said, collaborators, anybody from chiropractors to medical doctors to healthcare who want their patients, their clients to start forming better self-care habits. If you have something new in your life, a new medical issue, your life has changed, it's altered. What are those habits that are going to sustain you even at your lowest days when you don't feel like doing the physical therapy or you don't feel like doing the pelvic floor exercises or whatever it is, or you don't feel like, oh my God, I have all these new medicines. So that kind of collaboration is coming in more in my life. So there must be a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that works out is always awesome and fascinating to see, where it's like things start happening and they're exactly what you needed to start happening. So I love that. So awesome. Well, what advice would you give to a new or an aspiring entrepreneur?
That's interesting because I guess I've been an entrepreneur since 2011, actually 2014. I used to say tenacity, but that was my big thing when I worked for the man. I worked for companies. And I went on my own in 2014 as a personal trainer. So more than just tenacity and perseverance, Be clear about what your jam is. Like I said, habits are my jam. Be clear about what you really love and what fulfills you. I know that sounds all woo woo. I'm very pragmatic. I'm the pragmatic wooist. But you know that feeling, I feel it in my chest. When you feel fulfilled, this is fulfilling. Like you love what you're doing, whether it's work or something else, lying in the grass and just lying there, whatever feels fulfilling. I would say if that fulfills you, align it with how you work, not just what you do, but how you work. And what fulfills you, put it into different aspects of your life. So, in other words, be really clear about what feels like is your purpose or what fulfills you, and make sure that you're clear about how to deliver that in your messaging. Because that's the hardest thing I found being a life coach, because people can say, well, what's a life coach? Because I used to say that. So you have to be really clear about this is what I can help you with. And once you know what really fulfills you and how you're helping people, that message becomes clear. I help people reach their goals, one tiny habit at a time, instead of all the self-discipline, the forced moody motivation, and the really rough willpower. So that's my clear message.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're 100% right. When you're starting off in business, it's very tempting to just say yes to everything and kind of take on way too much all at once. When as you mature, you get to the point where it's like, no, I can't help you with that. This is really my area, and then you're going to be happier, you're more fulfilled, you're spending less time doing the stuff you don't want to do. So it makes sense all the way through. And absolutely, more aspiring entrepreneurs, or anybody in business needs to make that realization where it's like, trim the fat, get rid of the stuff that you really don't want to do, and find ways to work around it, and just do your part that your zone of brilliance is, and do that. So how can you build sustainable habits without relying on willpower?
Well, that's just it. It's a process. First, there's a four-pillar process. First, you have to activate. You have to have an activator. You have to boost your ability. You have to reward yourself and celebrate. And you have to make that repetition easy. So, without the willpower, first you find what's your ultimate goal. And we usually peel that down. Well, is that really your goal? Is that really your goal? Is that really your goal? And it's interesting how we find the real crux of what your goal is. And people call it the why. Well, why? Well, why? Well, why? So, your ultimate goal. What's one tiny action that can start you there? And most people start with, I can do 4 of these things, 5 of these things, because I make them come up with at least 10 things. Spaghetti on the wall, just brainstorm. And they're like, well, I can do 3 or 4. No, I know you can. You're very capable, but let's just pick one. And we rate them. We go through this whole process of behavioral assessment. So you start with one tiny action because that's doable. Again, what is the easiest thing to do? And repetition, 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 repetition. That's the name of the game. Don't buy into you can form this habit in 21 days. You can stop your craving in 40 days or 30 days to that. Nobody knows exactly how long it will take. Again, meta studies are a compilation of different studies, different times, different places. Meta studies show that habits form anywhere from 65 days to 185 days. It depends on in the context, it depends on the person, it depends on the habit. So it's repetition more so than a number of days. You might form it in 30 days, you might form it in 60 days, maybe in 90 days. I see like the magic numbers start really going in 90 days, toward like 3 months. So first you have to find a real activator. A real activator. There's always one fleeting thought in your brain, subconscious or not, that activates you doing something like brushing your teeth. You don't think about it, but there's always a thought, something that came right before it. Right before any habit, there's a little thought. So you have to activate that thought. And we find the one that works for you, because alarms, a lot of people turn off the alarms and they don't go do that thing that they set the alarm for. And they keep watching TV, or they keep on their computer, or they keep on the social media, or whatever it is. Or the post-it. If I put a post in front of my face, I can still see you, Anthony. I can still see all the green. I can see your green shirt. I can see everything, because that post-it just becomes part of the peripheral vision. You start ignoring all the post-its around your computer or on the wall. We find the activator that reminds you, okay, go do that new thing. Boost your ability. Do you have all your resources? Do you have all your information? Do you have the right support system? Have you told your friends, thank you so much for bringing in those donuts all the time, but I'm not going to go in that lunchroom, or I'm trying this new diet. Do you tell your family? Do you tell your partner? Whatever. Do you have the right support system? Do you have everything that you need in place, the right gear to work out? Whatever it is. Do you put up barriers? Do you put something in place so you won't do something? Do you get rid of that food that you don't want to eat anymore? Whatever it is. So we boost your ability to do it. Then reward yourself. Celebrate, 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 celebrate. That's the great thing about willpower. It's, again, instead of willpower. When you keep celebrating that tiny action you just took, as tiny as it is, when you say it out loud, sometimes if you write it and say it out loud, even better. If you do a little dance, even better. It's somatic. You're using your body. When you say it out loud, I'm on my way. I'm doing it. Done. You celebrate it. And with me, they start on Voxer and they tell me done, or they put a little green check emoji or something. Even if it's like the tiniest thing, say it out loud, because when you do, it enters your brain and your brain goes noted, computed, capable. You keep repeating to yourself that you're capable, you're doing it. It's a fact. So celebrate it. Eventually, you don't celebrate it with your accountability partner or your coach. You celebrate yourself with those tiny actions. And then you stop celebrating because it becomes a habit. And once it's a habit, again, it's second nature. You don't need that willpower. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, absolutely. More specifically, how can you align your habits with your values?
If your habits are against your values, what you consider, what you value, what you consider is important, it's kind of hard to, isn't it hard to do something that you just think is dumb or not worthwhile or you don't believe in? So when you value something for real and you keep telling yourself subconsciously why, you're more apt to do it. That's sort of like the affirmations. I call them the positive Pollyanna affirmations. Affirmations are great. Inspirational affirmations are great. A nice inspirational quote, wonderful, kind of reminds you. But those affirmations where you say it every day, you say an affirmation, I'm this $10 billion maker Greek goddess or whatever it is. I can't make one up. But if you say something that you have a little nugget of doubt in your brain, you don't really believe it, our lizard brain looks for whatever it is you doubt or fear and looks to prove that. So a lot of people tell themselves all these wonderful affirmations, but they don't really believe them. And then they fall off because they don't really believe them. So I say start with something you truly believe. I don't like doing this and I'm doing it anyway. Instead of saying but, because but's kind of negative. It's kind of a wall, right? But if you tell yourself, I don't like doing weights and I'm doing this one series. Okay, see how it's a confirmation and your brain goes, yeah, you are. That's it. You're not qualifying it. You're not saying you're great, you're a superstar, you're a rock star, or anything if you don't really feel like it. You're just telling yourself a truth. So again, back to your question, how do you align your values to your habits? Well, truly want that habit. Truly like it. Align it to what you value, what you think is important, not what society says, not what your spouse wants, not what everybody else wants. Do you believe in that?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How can breaking the cycle of burnout help you stay more consistent?
Well, that's just it. Again, if you're constantly burning out, and which I used to do all the time, I think we all did, back in the day. I'm an 80s and 90s child when we wore shoulder pads and all that. And back then it was all the job requirements asked that you multitask. Need to be a great multitasker. And now they know that's the worst thing in life. You need to focus one thing at a time. It's like they don't want multitaskers. We have too much now with social media and the bells and whistles, and it's just so distracting. It's better to be focused and finish a task. So back to your question. Um, there are times, of course, that you do push yourself, especially as an entrepreneur, especially when you're on your own timeline and you have to meet deadlines and you have to go past that. But if you constantly do it, you don't have the energy and your mind can become resentful. I mean, you literally physically peter out. We all know this. It becomes too stressful. A little bit of stress, fine. We're supposed to react to stress. That's fine. That's what humans do. That's what mammals do. We react to stress. But if you're constantly doing that, then you can get sick. Your immune system can only take so much. It's always a distress signal. And then you're just not as energetic and just not as present, just not as focused. And do you really value that? And you might say, well, yeah, Ronnie, but you got to get this done. And there's so much to do. Okay. That's where you go back to at least the habits help you naturally prioritize what is essential, what really needs to be done today, no matter what. it naturally helps you do that because it already is used to doing that. Like if you're used to working out, it's part of your identity. What does a runner do? They run. What does somebody who takes care of themselves do? I move, I work out, whatever. It's part of your identity. So it's weird if you don't do it. So even let's say you only work out 5 minutes that day, you do 5 minutes of calisthenics, you did it because it's weird if you don't. You don't feel like it's not your identity. Your habits are who you are. You are your habits. So back to how burnout will help, not constantly burning out. Your habits help you naturally prioritize. Well, this is me. This is what I prioritize. This is what I value. Because if you're constantly pushing it beyond that, you're not going to do quality work. You're not going to be a quality parent. You're not going to be a quality partner. You're not going to be quality. So that's why not burning out all the time. Sure, there are times where, the momentum takes you and, whoa, we did it. We pulled an all-nighter. But that has to be very far and few.
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right. No matter what somebody's doing, there's a million other people doing either the exact same thing or something very similar. So what sets you apart? Why you? Why would somebody talk to you as opposed to anybody else out there?
Because there's only one me. Just like there's only one you. I'm not the first. Like I said, I mentioned Atomic Habits when everybody kept saying, "Oh, you got to read Atomic Habits." I read it like 2 nights. I'm like, I kept nodding my head yes, and it would make me giggle, and I loved his anecdotes. I'm like, good for you, James. He was not the first. Brian Fogg came before him. There were Tiny Habits. There were other things. There were other people, all the way back to Aristotle. So we all don't reinvent the. There are many people who invent something new, but we don't all reinvent the wheel. Okay. What sets you apart is really what brought you here, your life experience. I'm up there in age. I've got a lot of life experience. I have pivoted careers. I have been through a lot of what my clients have been through, career transition. I've been through divorce. I'm with the man I really want now. I've been through there are things facing in life like new relationships. Oh my God, dating again, really? And I didn't grow up with a computer, and then boom, computers were there, and boom, now I'm on social media. So what I'm saying is, what sets me apart is really my life experience morphed into this is what you get. I can empathize. I can relate. I can also tell you, this is a good resource, or somebody else might be better at helping you with this. So I would say I'm not the only habit coach. I'm certainly not the only life coach, but I am the only one with my own backstory, and how I can relate to you is chemistry. I love what I do. So I think that really sets me apart, or sets all of us apart who love what we do and what we find fulfilling. Therefore, we are vested in our clients and in our partners and our collaborators.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're perfectly right. There's a menu of options. What's really going to set you apart is you, right? Somebody's going to say, you know what, I really like what Ronnie said. I really like the way she said it. We have that vibe, that connection. That's really hard to quantify. It's hear somebody speak about what they're passionate about, and then determine if that matches you. If it does, great, have a conversation. So, no, fantastic. But I know we could go down all the rabbit holes with this because there's a lot to this. And like you said, it goes all the way back to Aristotle, probably before, right? Before they could even write, they were doing stuff in this realm. But in general, is there anything that I missed or that I failed to ask that you wanted to add?
I love what you do. The reason I fell upon you is because of another guy who knows a guy, and a friend just posted that he was on with you. So I went to go find him. And then, so speaking of rabbit holes, I started scrolling. This is me scrolling on that computer, seeing all the other fabulous people you have. So I think what I'd like to add is we can all learn from each other, and we can all give to each other. And I find the more that we give and we share, the more that we get, and the more we enjoy what we're doing and who we're doing it with.
100%. There's so many awesome people out there doing awesome things, and you can learn something from everybody. So why wouldn't you want to talk to all of them? So perfect. Yeah. For those that want to know more, for those that want to learn from you, that think, she just said some things that I have a million questions about. How can they get a hold of you? Where can they find you?
Well, I found you on LinkedIn because my friend is always on LinkedIn as well. And so I'm on LinkedIn, but as you'll put in the show notes, my website, RonnieLo Life Coach. Lo is for Loaiza, RonnieLoLifeCoach.com. And again, you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well, although there I'm mostly for fun. But everything's on there. In Instagram, you'll find my link tree in my bio. So that's really where I post whenever I'm a podcast guest or I'm involved in something I want to share it with you, that kind of thing. So yeah, all the social media, but mostly through LinkedIn and my website, RonnieLoLifeCoach.com. And if you would like to talk more about your particular interest or collaboration, I would love to have a call with you.
Perfect. And I encourage you to do so. Absolutely reach out to Ronnie. She's an absolute pleasure to have a conversation with. You're going to walk away smiling. And she's right. Everything's going in the show notes. So just go there, click on it, reach out, have that conversation. Do yourself a favor. There's so much opportunity for collaboration, for working together, different things that you can learn. So why would you restrict yourself? Do that. Have that conversation. Other than that, people that want to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Ronnie. If you were somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Ronnie, thank you so much for coming on. All day, every day, we're doing things that are habits, right? Why not take the time to make those the most efficient to actually get us to where we want to go and not be a detriment? So what you're doing is awesome. You're helping a lot of people. I really appreciate what you're doing. Let's all go have an awesome day and grow our circles. All right.
All right. Thank you.
My pleasure.